Hello and welcome to ScaleUp Radio Shorts.
The podcast brought to you by Smart 90, the proven 90-day execution system for scaling businesses.
I'm Kevin Brent.
And I'm Granger Forson, and together we are your hosts.
In this episode, we're going to be diving into and comparing and contrasting the insights we gleaned from two recent interviews we had on ScaleUp Radio.
Exactly. We spoke with Alice Garrett, the founder of Alice Caroline, and Sheila Ako Glavee, the founder of Skilled Hands Organisation, both incredible entrepreneurs, but with very different backgrounds and approaches.
Our goal today is to pull out some of the key lessons and compare and contrast them, hopefully to give you some actionable insights that you can use in your own business. And of course, to encourage you to go and listen to the full interviews. They're packed with so much more detail.
Absolutely. We really encourage you to seek out the full interviews if you find what we're covering today valuable and want to get the whole story. You can find ScaleUp Radio wherever you like to listen to your podcasts.
Let's start with Alice Garrett. Alice is the founder of Alice Caroline, a business that, at its heart, connects people with creativity.
Yeah, Alice Caroline is all about sewing kits, distributing Liberty fabrics, running workshops, and even online festivals focused on sewing, quilting, and dressmaking. You know, it's really about bringing that creative spirit to life.
Absolutely, and it all started with a deep personal connection to Liberty fabric. It's a particular UK brand that she just always loved, and her grandmother was a great quilter and sewer, instilled in her an appreciation for this special fabric.
It's amazing how these things often stem from a personal passion, isn't it? She was frustrated by the limited availability of the fabric, so she decided to make it more accessible by curating fabrics into these lovely packs, as she called them, for people to buy in ready-done colours. A real solution to a personal problem.
Absolutely, and despite holding a PhD in chemistry, she felt she lacked workplace skills, so she decided to employ herself. There's a bit of entrepreneurial drive right there.
For sure. She even admits to starting rather naively with a "how hard can it be" attitude. I think a lot of entrepreneurs can probably relate to that.
Yeah, I definitely can. Maybe we'll come back to that.
Now let's turn our attention to Sheila Ako Glavee, the founder and director of Skilled Hands Organisation.
Skilled Hands is a community interest company, or CIC, and it's all about empowering people through crafts workshops.
Yeah, it's really inspiring. Her core focus is on empowering unemployed women, women with caring responsibilities, and those on low income in Nottingham. But it's not stopping there, is it?
No, it's expanding to include after-school crafts for children and even paid workshops for wider audiences, all to ensure sustainability. And just as a side note, Sheila also hosts Podcast with Sheila, which is a separate personal venture, I believe.
She's a busy woman. What really strikes me about Sheila is her determination to create a lasting impact. You know, she wants to leave a legacy for her children and to make a real difference in women's lives.
Absolutely. Her personal journey really highlights a go-getter personality, as they say in the briefing, someone who never let things get me down.
You can see that, can't you? She explicitly states her belief in God as fundamental to her success, attributing her progress to His strength and His guidance.
And there's that story about her early struggle to find a job in Ghana, despite having a first-class honours degree, right? That really pushed her to decide she never wanted to work for anybody. What a statement.
Yeah, a bold move, and it led her to independently approach a fabric company and design a billboard, even without strong graphic design skills at the time. A great demonstration of her resourcefulness and determination, wouldn't you say?
So Granger, let's dive into some of the early challenges that Alice and Sheila faced when they were starting out, shall we?
Sounds good, Kevin. It's always fascinating to see how different entrepreneurs navigate those initial hurdles.
Absolutely. Now, Alice with Alice Caroline, she started with a really clear and simple aim, to make Liberty fabric more accessible.
Yeah, that passion shone through in the interview, didn't it?
It did. But you know, her approach was described as rather naive, and it was driven by that classic "how hard can it be" attitude. I think many of us can relate to that at the beginning.
For sure. I think I've said that a few times myself, only to discover it was, in fact, pretty hard. So what was the biggest challenge for Alice early on?
Well, it was getting Liberty to respond to her emails, apparently. It took 2 years.
Wow, patience is definitely a virtue then.
Absolutely. And she started really simply, buying fabric, cutting it and posting it. A real bootstrap operation. Now, Sheila's story is quite different, isn't it?
It is. Sheila's entrepreneurial journey with Skilled Hands was born out of necessity, really, and a strong aversion to working for others after her struggles to find employment.
That's right. And her initial ventures, like the In Thing Maglog magazine, taught her some hard lessons about production quality and delegation.
The briefing document mentions that her first print was a mess, and the marketers failed to distribute the second edition.
Ouch!
Yeah, a tough lesson, leading her to believe that the best servant of man is himself, prompting her to get involved in everything.
And she also faced cultural challenges in Ghana, where charitable work wasn't really understood or easily funded. So a very different set of challenges compared to Alice.
Definitely. You can see how Alice's initial naivety contrasts with Sheila's more direct and challenging early failures. It really highlights the importance of self-reliance in those early stages, doesn't it?
It does. And then you see how Alice's growth demonstrates how a simple, passion-driven idea can really scale if you stick at it.
So, Kevin, after those initial hurdles, how did Alice and Sheila manage to grow and scale their businesses? What strategies did they employ?
Good question, Granger. It's interesting to see how their paths diverged, isn't it? Alice Caroline has grown significantly, now employing 34 people and operating as a global e-commerce business. It's quite a journey from cutting fabric on the kitchen table, I imagine.
Absolutely. And it sounds like her business model has diversified quite a bit too.
Yeah, she's moved into manufacturing kits in-house, running online workshops, and wholesaling ready-made accessories. She even feels like she's running 5 businesses now.
Wow, that's a lot to juggle. I bet that comes with its own set of challenges.
It does. Alice emphasizes that as the business scales, the problems just get bigger every day. So there's a mindset adjustment needed to actually enjoy problem solving.
Yeah, that's so true. You have to kind of reframe it in your mind to deal with it, right? You have to almost embrace the chaos. So, what else did she do to scale?
Well, she learned the importance of paying for external expertise and learning from others to accelerate growth, especially after the difficulty of the first hire. I think that's a lesson a lot of entrepreneurs learn the hard way.
Absolutely. Bringing in the right people at the right time can be a game changer. So, what about Sheila and Skilled Hands? How did she approach growth?
Well, Skilled Hands has evolved from an unregistered charity to a community interest company, or CIC. Apparently, that was a crucial step for accessing larger funding and ensuring sustainability.
Right, that makes sense. Formalising the organisation to gain credibility and access to resources.
Exactly. This formal registration allowed her to secure significant grants, like 5 continuous years of funding from national lotteries, due to proving their ability to deliver.
That's fantastic. It shows the importance of having the right legal structure in place.
Absolutely. And Sheila is actively pursuing income-generating activities such as paid workshops, corporate workshops, selling products, and even exploring franchising, with the aim of reducing reliance on grant funding to 30% of earnings.
So she's really diversifying her income streams to create a more sustainable business model. It sounds like Alice's growth led to operational complexity and the need for internal mindset shifts and external learning, whereas Sheila's growth involved a crucial legal and structural transformation to enable larger scale funding and a more robust, sustainable business model less dependent on charity.
Spot on. So, Granger, how did these two very different leaders approach company culture, and how did they learn to delegate responsibilities?
Well, Kevin, Alice has deliberately fostered an open culture where mistakes are viewed as learning opportunities rather than reasons for retribution.
That sounds like a really positive environment to work in.
Yeah, it really does, doesn't it? She also values transparency, holding quarterly full-team away days to ensure everyone understands the business's direction, which is particularly important as the team grows.
Definitely, because people can feel disconnected as the team grows, can't they? And it chimes with our own 90-day Smart 90 planning approach. But what about delegation? Was that easy for Alice?
Apparently not. A significant lesson for Alice has been learning to let go, delegate and trust her team, acknowledging the difficulty of this transition. Well, let's face it, it's a challenge for a lot of entrepreneurs, right?
Absolutely. Letting go of control can be really tough, especially when it's your baby.
Exactly that. She stresses the importance of difficult conversations and being kind, not nice, for constructive feedback and improvement.
That's a great distinction. Kindness is crucial.
Absolutely. And when hiring, she looks for a can-do, will-do team fit and values adaptability and willingness to admit mistakes. Again, pointing to a very positive environment where people can flourish. What about Sheila? How did she approach people and culture?
Well, Sheila initially learned the hard way about delegation from her magazine experience, didn't she? Leading her to be excessively involved in every aspect of Skilled Hands.
Right, so she learned what not to do?
Exactly. However, she acknowledges this leads to burnout and is actively trying to learn to trust others more.
Yeah, that's a common pitfall, isn't it?
It is. She relies on a team of trustees, facilitators, and volunteers, recognizing she couldn't have done it on her own, acknowledging the importance of leaning on other people.
So, it sounds like Alice provides extensive detail on proactive culture building strategies, emphasizing psychological safety, transparent communication, and effective delegation. Sheila's experience highlights the initial personal struggle with trust and delegation, a common hurdle for entrepreneurs, which she is actively working to overcome to prevent burnout. I mean, that must be so hard, right? To kind of hand over that control when you're so used to doing it yourself.
It is, but I think it's recognizing that you can't do everything yourself and that to grow the business, you need to bring other people on board and trust them to do the job. If you've got the right people and the right culture, then you will get there. So what about problem solving and resilience? I mean, every business faces challenges, but how did Alice and Sheila approach them?
Well, Alice frames problem solving as an enjoyable and continuous aspect of business. I thought that was really interesting. She points out that as you scale, problems become bigger, requiring a mindset adjustment to focus on solutions.
A mindset adjustment, yeah, that's the key, isn't it? You got to almost rewire your brain to see them as opportunities for growth.
Absolutely. Her business successfully navigated COVID and Brexit, which underscored her responsibility for her employees' livelihoods. Upscaling during COVID, under constrained conditions, was a massive challenge that they overcame.
Yeah, those were turbulent times for everyone, and I'm sure they presented a unique set of problems. What about Sheila? How did she deal with challenges?
Well, Sheila's journey is marked by significant personal and professional resilience. She battled sepsis in 2020, which motivated her to share her story and open her podcast to others' narratives.
Wow, that's incredible to go through something like that and then use it as a platform to help others.
Exactly. She faced systemic challenges as a woman of colour starting an organisation in a foreign country. Her early business attempts were fraught with issues like poor print quality and unreliable marketers.
You know, that's the sort of thing that would make many people give up.
It would, wouldn't it? She persevered despite difficulties in raising funds for pilot projects and in a cultural landscape where charitable work was not readily accepted or understood. So, both demonstrate high levels of resilience.
Definitely, it sounds like Alice's perspective is more about embracing problems as part of growth, whereas Sheila's narrative reveals a deeper struggle against external systemic and personal health challenges, highlighting her tenacious go-getter spirit. So, let's talk about their future visions and the advice they'd give. What are their plans for the future?
Well, Alice's professional goal for the next 5 years is to, get this, triple the size of the business with the same number of people, focusing on efficiency, and to launch her own fabric line.
Wow, that's ambitious. Focus on efficiency, a classic scaling challenge, isn't it?
Exactly. And her ultimate dream is a physical space, a beautiful place where we have a bar and a cafe and people can come and do workshops.
Sounds idyllic, actually. What about Sheila?
Sheila envisions skilled hands expanding throughout the East Midlands within 5 years and eventually touching every household and every woman around the world, either through training or products.
Hugely ambitious too, but with a real community focus.
Absolutely. She's focused on generating 70% of her organisation's income internally to reduce reliance on grants.
Smart move. Sustainability is key for any organisation, especially one that's community-driven. What advice did they give?
Alice's key advice for her younger self and other entrepreneurs is, don't be afraid to start and iterate, accepting that you're going to fail and that's okay.
That's a great message. I mean, just get started. Stop procrastinating. And I love the iterate part. That continuous improvement is critical.
It is. She also stresses that building a business takes time and the importance of staying focused on the one thing, rather than being distracted by shiny things or new products.
The one thing. Yep, that focus is so important, isn't it? What about Sheila's advice?
Sheila's advice concerns grant applications. She advises reading requirements carefully and delivering on all of those promises to build credibility and secure continued funding.
So, Alice's advice is strategic and process-oriented for business growth, while Sheila's advice delves specifically into the detail of contracts. That's quite a contrast. So, Granger, what are the key takeaways from these two incredibly insightful interviews?
Well, I think it's clear both Alice and Sheila demonstrate that passion and resilience are essential. Alice shows us the power of focusing on a simple idea and iterating, while Sheila highlights the importance of self-reliance and a strong support system.
Absolutely. And the fact that they both faced very different challenges yet achieved significant success is really inspiring. It just goes to show there's no one single path to scaling a business.
Exactly. Hopefully this short dive into Alice and Sheila's experiences has inspired our listeners to go and explore the full interviews.
Absolutely. If you want to hear the full stories with all the details and nuances, just search for ScaleUp Radio wherever you like to listen to your podcasts. You'll find Alice, Garrett, and Sheila Ako Glavee's interviews there, along with a whole host of other amazing guests.
And if you're grappling with how to scale your business and want a proven system to help you achieve more, faster, then why not check out Smart 90?
Yes, head over to smart90.co.uk to discover how our 90-day execution system can help you get unstuck and achieve your business goals. That's smart90.co.uk.
Thanks for joining us on ScaleUp Radio Shorts. We'll be back soon with more insights and inspiration from the world of scaling businesses.